You ever notice how one purchase is almost never just one purchase? You buy a new phone, and then suddenly you need a case, a charger, wireless earbuds, maybe a better desk setup to go with it. You buy a new couch, and now the rug looks old, the coffee table feels cheap, and the rest of the living room suddenly bothers you. You buy a new outfit for one event, and then your shoes do not match, your jacket feels off, and somehow you are spending 3 times more than you planned. That is not bad luck. And it is not always lack of discipline either. There is a reason one purchase so often leads to more spending. And once you understand it, you start seeing it everywhere. Because in modern life, buying something new rarely changes just one thing. It changes your standard. It changes how everything around that item looks, feels, and fits into your life. That is where the spending spiral begins. And that spiral quietly keeps a lot of people broke. Not because they are making one huge mistake, but because they are making one purchase that creates 5 more. That is what we are talking about today. Because if you have ever looked at your bank account and honestly wondered where your money went, this may be one of the biggest answers. A lot of people think overspending happens when someone buys one giant luxury item they cannot afford. Sometimes that is true. But more often, overspending happens through chains. Small chains. Quiet chains. Psychological chains. One purchase creates a mismatch. That mismatch creates discomfort. And that discomfort pushes you toward the next purchase. That pattern is more common than most people realize. Let's say you buy a brand new laptop. At first, it feels like a smart purchase. Maybe your old one still works, but this one is faster, cleaner, more modern. You feel productive already. But then you put that sleek new laptop on your scratched-up desk. Now the desk looks bad. So you start thinking maybe it is time to upgrade your workspace. Then once the desk is nicer, the old chair feels uncomfortable and out of place. Then the lighting feels bad. Then you decide you need a better monitor. Then cable clutter starts bothering you. Then you want better accessories to complete the setup. Suddenly the laptop was not the purchase. It was the trigger. That is how this works. The original item resets your baseline. It changes what feels acceptable around it. Things you were perfectly fine with last week suddenly start feeling outdated, low quality, or out of place. That shift is expensive. Because when your standards change faster than your income, your spending expands without you fully realizing it. And the scary part is, this does not only happen with luxury items. It happens with everyday life. You get a nicer car, and now you want nicer clothes to match it. You move into a better apartment, and now your old furniture feels embarrassing. You upgrade one room in your house, and now the rest of the house feels unfinished. You buy one nice pair of shoes, and now your regular outfits feel too basic. You start going to a more upscale gym, and suddenly your old workout clothes do not feel right anymore. It happens in tech. It happens in fashion. It happens in home improvement. It happens in parenting. It happens in travel. It happens in almost every part of life where image, comfort, and identity are involved. And that is because this is not just about buying things. It is about consistency. Human beings crave consistency. We want things to feel like they belong together. We want our environment to make sense. We want our possessions to match the version of ourselves we think we are becoming. So when one purchase raises the tone of part of our life, everything that does not match it starts to feel irritating. Not because it stopped working, but because it stopped fitting the new picture. That irritation is powerful. It is subtle, but powerful. It creates tension. And one of the fastest ways people relieve that tension is by buying something else. That is why one purchase leads to more spending. Because the first purchase rarely stands alone. It changes the emotional environment around it. And once that emotional environment changes, your old stuff often starts failing the new test. This is one reason lifestyle inflation sneaks up on people. Most people think lifestyle inflation only means making more money and spending more money. That is part of it. But another part of it is this chain reaction effect. You upgrade one thing. Then you slowly feel pressure to upgrade the surrounding things. And after a while, your life becomes more expensive to maintain than it used to be. Not necessarily because your needs changed. Because your standard changed. That standard shift is one of the quietest wealth killers there is. Because it rarely feels dangerous in the moment. Each extra purchase seems reasonable by itself. The new phone needs protection. The new couch needs a matching rug. The new kitchen needs better appliances. The new apartment needs better decor. The new car deserves better upkeep. Every next purchase sounds justified. That is why the spending feels rational. People do not feel like they are spiraling. They feel like they are finishing something. Completing something. Fixing something. Bringing everything together. But the bank account feels the truth even when the brain keeps giving the spending a nice explanation. And companies understand this very well. That is important. This is not random. Modern marketing is designed to make products feel incomplete without the surrounding ecosystem. Think about how often products are shown in bundles. The phone with the watch. The couch with the lamp, rug, and wall art. The workout machine with the clothing, shoes, supplements, and fitness app. The car with the lifestyle. The handbag with the look. Companies know that people do not just buy products. They buy identities. They buy stories. They buy moods. They buy the feeling that their life is moving upward. And when one purchase becomes tied to personal progress, it becomes even easier for it to pull more spending behind it. Because now buying is not just practical. It is emotional. And emotional spending is much harder to stop with logic alone. Let's talk about identity for a second, because this is a huge part of the problem. A lot of spending is really identity maintenance. Someone buys something new that represents a more successful, more organized, more stylish, or more disciplined version of themselves. Then they feel pressure to support that version. A person buys expensive gym equipment and suddenly feels they need to look like someone who uses expensive gym equipment. A person buys a luxury watch and feels pressure to dress more polished. A person renovates a kitchen and starts feeling like the rest of the home needs to reflect that same level. A person buys premium luggage and suddenly the budget hotel starts feeling wrong. That is how identity turns into spending. Not all at once. In layers. The first purchase says, "This is who I am now," then everything else gets judged against that claim. And if the rest of life does not match, spending often enters as the solution. That is why people can spend far more than planned without ever deciding to go crazy. They are often trying to bring their environment into alignment with the story the first purchase started telling. And once you see that, a lot of financial behavior makes more sense. It explains why someone who buys one expensive thing often ends up buying several more. It explains why renovating one room turns into redoing half the house. It explains why one upgrade creates dissatisfaction with things that were completely fine before. That is a key point. A lot of spending is not caused by actual need. It is caused by newly created dissatisfaction. You were fine with the old desk until the new laptop showed up. You were fine with the old floors until the new cabinets were installed. You were fine with the old wardrobe until the nicer shoes entered the picture. You were fine until the new benchmark made the old normal feel unacceptable. That is how people get trapped. They mistake comparison for need. And the comparison starts inside their own life. Now here is where this becomes especially dangerous. The first purchase often gets the most attention. But the follow-up purchases are what do the damage. That is where budgets break. That is where savings disappear. That is where credit cards quietly start carrying more than they should. Because people plan for the main item. They do not plan for the chain reaction. They budget for the couch, not the living room refresh. They budget for the phone, not the accessories. They budget for the kitchen update, not the rest of the house suddenly looking old. They budget for the car payment, not the insurance increase, detailing, maintenance, and lifestyle expectations that come with it. That is why one purchase is so often underestimated. Its real cost is not just the receipt. Its real cost includes everything else it quietly makes you want. And that is the question more people need to ask before they buy something: what will this purchase make me want next? That one question can save people a lot of money, because it forces you to see purchases as systems, not events. If buying the thing is going to create pressure for 3 more upgrades, then the real price is larger than it looks. And if the full chain reaction cost is too high, then the purchase may not be affordable in the way you think it is. This matters a lot in home ownership, because homes are one of the easiest places for one purchase to trigger a spending spiral. You update one bathroom, then the older bathroom starts bothering you. You replace the counters. Now the cabinets feel outdated. You repaint one room. Now the hallway color feels off. You get a nicer patio setup. Now the backyard looks unfinished. Home upgrades are often sold as isolated improvements. But anyone who has owned a home knows how rarely that is true. One change exposes another. One upgrade raises the expectations of the space around it. And if you are not careful, you can spend years chasing visual consistency while calling it improving the house. The same thing happens socially. Someone upgrades part of their lifestyle, and now there is social pressure to maintain that image. Maybe they buy the nicer car and now feel weird showing up to certain places looking too casual. Maybe they move into a nicer neighborhood and feel pressure to keep the inside of the home at that level. Maybe they start traveling differently and now lower cost options feel harder to enjoy. That is another hidden cost of upgrades. They do not only change your stuff, they can change your expectations. And expectations are expensive. Because once your expectations rise, normal things can stop satisfying you. That is one reason people who earn more do not always feel freer. Sometimes they just inherit a more expensive standard. And once that standard becomes normal, the spending that supports it also becomes normal. That is how people end up making more money but still feeling like they are constantly chasing. Now, none of this means buying nice things is wrong. That is not the point. The point is awareness. Because when you understand that one purchase often carries hidden spending behind it, you can make much better decisions. You can stop treating purchases like isolated moments. You can start asking better questions. Not just, do I want this, but, what will this change? Not just, can I afford the item, but, can I afford the version of life this item may pull me into? That is a smarter way to think. Because sometimes the item is affordable, but the ripple effect is not. So how do you protect yourself? First, slow down before buying anchor items. Anchor items are the purchases most likely to reset your standards. Cars, furniture, major tech, renovations, luxury fashion, premium fitness equipment, and things that change the feel of a space or identity. Those purchases deserve extra thought because they are more likely to trigger follow-up spending. Second, calculate the ecosystem cost. Do not price the item alone. Price the add-ons, matching pieces, maintenance, subscriptions, and likely next steps. See the full picture before you swipe the card. Third, ask whether the discomfort is real or created. Do you actually need to replace the rug? Or does it only feel wrong because the new couch changed your perception? Do you need a better desk setup? Or is the new laptop simply making the old setup look less exciting? That question helps you separate true need from emotional contrast. Fourth, leave room between purchases. A lot of chain reaction spending happens because people move too fast. They buy the main item, then immediately start solving every mismatch they notice. But mismatch often loses power with time. If you wait, some of those urges fade. What feels unbearable today may feel unimportant in 2 weeks. Time is one of the best filters for unnecessary spending. And fifth, learn to tolerate a little inconsistency. That might sound small, but it matters. A financially healthy life does not require everything to match perfectly. Your home does not need to look like a catalog. Your clothes do not all need to project one polished image. Your possessions do not need to tell one seamless story. You are allowed to own a mix of things from different seasons of life. You are allowed to upgrade one area without immediately upgrading the rest. That flexibility protects your peace and your money. Because perfection is expensive. And a lot of spending is really just the cost of trying to make life look too complete. At the end of the day, one purchase leads to more spending because purchases do not exist in isolation. They change your standards. They affect your identity. They expose contrasts. They create new desires. They shift expectations. And when you do not see that happening, money starts leaving faster than you expected. So the next time you feel yourself wanting an upgrade, pause. Not to never buy it. Just to think clearly. Ask yourself what else it might pull behind it. Ask yourself whether you are buying a useful item, or inviting a whole new level of spending into your life. Because sometimes what looks like a small upgrade is really the beginning of a much bigger bill. And the people who build real financial stability are usually not the people who never buy nice things. They are the people who understand the hidden cost of what they buy. They know that the first price is not always the final price. And they refuse to let one purchase quietly turn into a lifestyle they never meant to finance. That awareness alone can save you thousands. And in a world designed to make you want more the second you buy something, that kind of awareness is a real financial advantage.